The year is 2021. At age 40, Scott Dixon had just capped off his sixth championship, only one behind record holder AJ Foyt, with a year of 4 wins and no finishes outside the top 10. He was the poster child of the sport, but could he bring home a 7th title in the coming year? Meanwhile, expectations were at an all-time high for the fellas over at Penske. Already 2-time champion Joseph Newgarden had come off narrowly missing out on the title, just 16 points behind Dixon, and the team was bringing in 3-time Supercars champion Scott McLaughlin to fill a 4th Penske seat for a team that hadn't run 4 full-time cars since 2017. But the moves didn't stop there. Back to Dixon's team, Chip Ganassi Racing, they announced standout rookie Alex Palou would drive the number 10 car for his second year, and NASCAR legend Jimmy Johnson would race at all the road courses and street courses on the schedule to fulfill a childhood dream of his. Other changes amongst the grid included Sebastian Bourdais driving full-time for AJ Foyt Racing, James Hinchcliffe returning to Andretti for the first time since 2014, Felix Rosenqvist making the move to McLaren, and F1 veteran Romain Grosjean slated for a ride with Dale Coyne. Up and down the grid, everyone had expectations. A young Pato O'Ward had just finished 4th in his first full-time IndyCar season, and phenom Colton Herta was just ahead in 3rd. Previous rookies Alex Palou and Rinus VeeKay looked to make a lasting impression past their first year, and every driver had it all to play for. It all kicked off at Barber. Pato O'Ward came out blazing in the first qualifying session of the season and managed to secure his second ever IndyCar pole in his career. And people saw him as a genuine title contender, but he wasn't the only one gaining that status. O'Ward was not able to convert that pole into the first win of his career, but someone else was, and that was Alex Palou. In his first race for Chip Ganassi Racing, Palou got that first win of his career and took his first ever championship lead. This was followed by a top 5 of Will Power in 2nd, Scott Dixon in 3rd, Pato O'Ward 4th from pole, and finally Sebastian Bourdais in 5th in his return to driving full-time. Next was St. Pete, and once again, it was dominated by young talent. Coming into the season, the strongest title contender from Andretti was Colton Herta, and he made that known in the second race out. A pole position into a win marked Herta's first ever victory on a street course, and a big bounce-back moment after a crash in Barber. He was followed up by 2 of the Penskes, Joseph Newgarden, who he collided with in race 1, and Simon Pagenaud. The top 5 was rounded out by Jack Harvey and Scott Dixon. After that came the first oval of the season, the doubleheader at the Texas Motor Speedway. Going into qualifying, Alex Palou took the lead spot for the first race, his first ever pole of his career, but it was a bit dysfunctional of a first pole, as it actually happened because Palou was first in the standings at the time, and qualifying was cancelled due to adverse weather conditions. Going into the race, Palou lost the lead quick and Scott Dixon took the win, leading 206 of the 212 laps, and surpassing AJ Foyt's record of winning a race in the most seasons with 19. Also, a rookie Scott McLaughlin achieved a P2 and the first podium of his career. As for the second race, Dixon got pole there too, but it didn't translate into a win. Another guy who happened to get his first podium in race 1 was Pato O'Ward, and he took his first victory in the second race of the doubleheader and got a few records himself, of being the first Mexican driver to win in an IndyCar race since 2004, and being the first non-Penske Chevy driver to win a race since 2016. Other podium sitters for the race included Joseph Newgarden with another second, and Graham Rahal coming home 3rd. Heading further into May, we begin with the Indy GP, or at least, the first rendition of it in 2021. For this race, it was yet another battle between a young talent, or at least young in terms of experience in IndyCar, and for the race, pole position was taken by Romain Grosjean. And remember, he was only racing at street and road courses for the season, so this was only his 3rd ever race in the series, and the first pole he achieved in any series since May of 2011 in GP2. When race time came, Grosjean finished 2nd, missing out on his first victory, but someone else got there first, and that was Rinus VeeKay. After a standout Rookie of the Year performance the year prior, VeeKay got his first win and cemented himself in the higher end of the standings. Now, we all know what comes next, the all-fabled Indy 500. The grid was pretty stacked, with 9 Indy 500 winners at the time sharing the course together, and alongside the full-time entries, this included Juan Pablo Montoya, who won it 2 times in the past, Tony Kanaan, who won it in 2013, and Helio Castroneves, who won it 3 times, and at the time, the most recent winner was driving full-time, and that was Takuma Sato, looking to defend the win he got in 2020. Heading into qualifying, the Fast 9 consisted of all 4 Ganassi cars, 2 ECR cars of Ed Carpenter and Rinus VeeKay, the Andretti's of Colton Herta and Ryan Hunter-Reay, and the lone Meyer Shank of Helio Castroneves. When it was all said and done, Dixon walked away with the pole and set the stage for the big day. The race started out with control out of Rinus VeeKay, who started third and led 29 laps before the first pit sequence. Meanwhile, Scott Dixon ran out of fuel on pit lane and fell out of the lead lap due to an awkwardly timed caution. After branching off strategies and a couple of cautions, the race was led by Alex Palou at lap 125, followed by Helio Castroneves, Pato O'Ward, and Rinus VeeKay. One more sequence of pit stops occurred, and 2 drivers were left in the clear with 2 laps remaining. The second-year standout, Alex Palou, and 3-time winner, Helio Castroneves. Castroneves passed Palou in the main straight, and for 2 laps managed to fend off Palou and win his 4th Indy 500, tying the record for most 500 wins with AJ Foyt, Al Unser, and Rick Mears, and it marked the first victory for the Meyer Shank team. Despite coming runner-up in the race, Alex Palou did have a bittersweet moment though, as he regained the championship lead. Next came another doubleheader, but this time at Belle Isle in Detroit. For the first race, and the first time in the season, there was a repeat pole sitter, Pato O'Ward, but come race time, he could only muster at third. The win was taken by Marcus Ericsson, and he marked the 7th winner across 7 races to open the season. Another surprise podium appearance was Rinus VeeKay, who reached as high as 4th in the standings after the first race. Going into the second event, pole was taken by Joseph Newgarden, who would start to get in the habit of qualifying on top. Come race time though, redemption was on the table for Pato O'Ward, as even though he wasn't on pole for this race, he managed to win it, and get the 2nd win of his career, the first on the street course. And it happened after passing Newgarden with 3 laps to go. O'Ward was the first driver to win multiple races in the season, nearly 2 months in. As we reach the halfway point of the season, I think it's important I give you a picture of the standings. The top 5 consisted of 3 guys who won their first races, Pato O'Ward in first, Alex Palou 1 point behind in second, and Scott Dixon in third, followed by Joseph Newgarden in fourth and Rinus VeeKay rounding it out. The championship battle was on, and there was not a clear favorite going into the back half of the year. Next up came Road America, which was a big turning point. This point is where things start to ramp up as new winners become less prevalent and these guys lock in on winning the championship. Pole was taken for a 2nd time in a row by Joseph Newgarden, but tragedy struck. Newgarden commanded the race for 53 of the 55 laps, but on the restart of the caution, his car suffered a mechanical issue and he fell all the way to the back. And Alex Palou inherited the lead, the win, and first in the standings as Pato O'Ward finished 8th. It was heartbreaking for Newgarden as that was 2 races in a row to lose the win right at the very end, but this was Palou's 2nd win of the season, and of his career for that matter. And he was the first Ganassi driver other than Scott Dixon to win 2 races in a season since Dario Franchitti in 2011. Another week out in Mid-Ohio, the next time around, resulted in another Joseph Newgarden pole, but could he finally get his win this time? Well actually, he kind of made sure he would. He led 73 of the 80 laps and made sure that nothing could go wrong come the end, and he actually nearly lost the lead right at the end to Marcus Ericsson, but he managed to hold him off. Ericsson came 2nd, Palou 3rd, and after poor qualifying, championship contender Pato O'Ward finished 8th, which gave Alex Palou a 39-point lead in the standings. Now back to a street circuit, we have Nashville. Nashville was a bit of an unorthodox one, as none of the top 3 in the championship really did too well. In qualifying, the star of the show was Colton Herta, who claimed his first pole since St. Pete, and he tried to translate it to a big result in the race, but he had a big crash on lap 75, and the win went to Marcus Ericsson, who was actually airborne on lap 4 and dead last at that point. A great recovery drive and an entertaining race on its own, but in the grand scheme of the championship, Palou stayed ahead, but now 2nd place was in the hand of Scott Dixon, followed by O'Ward, Newgarden, and Ericsson. That leads us into the 2nd iteration of the Indy GP, where once again, there was a big shakeup in the standings. After qualifying, Pato O'Ward was the one in the lead, but other than him, Palou started 6th, Dixon 26th, and Newgarden 14th, but he had a 6th place grid penalty. The race provided a big swing opportunity for O'Ward to make a charge back. Another pretty cool thing that happened is Christian Lundgaard joined RLL for a race and qualified 4th and led his first lap ever on lap 16. Anyways, Alex Palou retired on lap 68, and the leaders of the race consisted of Will Power, Romain Grosjean, and Colton Herta, which is how it ended, as Power got his win for the year, and Grosjean equaled his best result of a second, which he got at the first Indy GP. As for the standings, Award moved back up to second, just 21 points behind Palou. Now next was the final oval of the year, Gateway. Gateway provided a great weekend, but nearly every session was dominated by Penske. Practice, 2 Penskes in the lead. Qualifying, 3 of them in the top 4, with Will Power on pole, and the race, well, once again, 3 in the top 4. The race always had Penske's near the front, despite 2 of them making contact at one point, and other than some retirements from Colton Herta, Scott Dixon, and Alex Palou, nothing really moved him out of the way. Joseph Newgarden took the win, his second of the year, and Pato O'Ward came home second, to further help his championship campaign as he took the lead. Now into the final 3 races of the year, there were 4 main guys in the championship discussion. A young Pato O'Ward and Alex Palou, who were both racing their second full-time season and achieved their first wins that year, Scott Dixon chasing his record-tying 7th, and Joseph Newgarden, who quite honestly had been very unlucky throughout the year, but was still near the top. With 3 to go, we headed to Portland. When it comes to qualifying, Alex Palou was ahead of everyone throughout all the sessions, and took pole. As for the race, plenty of guys had leading laps, but after 3 cautions in the race, Palou stayed in the lead and took the win, and regained the lead in the standings. A 3rd out of Dixon, 5th out of Newgarden, and a 14th from O'Ward really opened the door for Palou and allowed him to take a 25-point lead. Next was Laguna Seca, where qualifying got interesting, with Joseph Newgarden not making it out of round 1 and Scott Dixon not making it out of the Fast 12. O'Ward and Palou ended up qualifying 6th and 4th, while Colton Herta was on pole. In the race, Colton Herta won it, and Palou moved up to 2nd, O'Ward up to 5th, and Newgarden up to 7th, while Dixon dropped to 13th, and Dixon was mathematically eliminated from the title fight with 1 race to go. All roads led to Long Beach. Alex Palou was 35 points ahead of Pato O'Ward, and Newgarden 3rd needed a miracle to tip it in his favor. All Palou had to do was finish 12th or above to seal the deal and win the IndyCar title in his 2nd season ever. Newgarden needed a miracle, but he put all the odds he could in his favor by putting himself on pole, with Palou down in 10th and O'Ward in 8th. Unfortunately for O'Ward, the main challenger, he ended up backwards on lap 1, getting hit by Ed Jones and later retired on lap 17 from damages. A bit uneventful for the final title decider, but without real worry, Palou coasted to a P4 while Colton Herta won back-to-back. Palou's first title in the series in just his 2nd season, and the first Spaniard to ever do so. Other than the champion, a season of thrill and a record 500 winner, and a plethora of 9 different race winners, definitely made a season for the history books.